What's up, guys? Spider here for Destiny, and we're going to talk today about the weekly update that Bungie put out yesterday. They have a weekly update every Friday. I'll put a link to the update in the video description, and what we're showing you here is our very first footage of when we first fought Atheon in the Vault of Glass. This is normal difficulty, and 3 of us are level 27, 3 of us are level 28, so even back then, you know, it's pretty hard. We didn't know exactly what we had to do. We didn't know our roles. You know, we have people assigning roles. And we're going to talk about one specific thing in particular that is going to be hotfixed next week with regards to Atheon, okay? So the update sort of focused on weapon balance. And they talked about the VEX Mythoclast. And sort of at the end of the weekly update, they talked about what they're going to be changing for Atheon, okay? So here's what they list. Atheon, next week's hotfix is going to contain some fixes to the Atheon encounter. No mention of the Templar, because the Templar can now be just pushed off the edge of the map, supposedly, but we're just talking Atheon. We've added baby bumpers to areas where players could knock Atheon out of the environment. And you know what? That's great, because I'm sure they didn't intend for Atheon just to be pushed off the edge of the map and for people to beat the raid, you know, in a matter of seconds very easily like that, okay? Especially if you're lower level. I know you can beat Atheon pretty handily and pretty quickly when you have a bunch of level 30s with, you know, fully upgraded Galahorns, etc. But to push them off, yeah, that needed to be fixed, okay? And they go to mention that knocking a boss off a ledge is a bug. We will seek to address bugs like these as quickly as possible. So, great. The next part, the encounter goal for Atheon is to act as a climax and the culmination of learning for a given raid group. Part of that is making sure that each player in your group can perform every job as required. A change will take effect next week which fixes a bug, quote-unquote bug, with Atheon's target selection. When using its time stream ability, Atheon will select 3 players at random instead of choosing the 3 players furthest from it. Okay? Now, we didn't know this. Nobody knew. I don't think, maybe some people knew, but I don't think it was general knowledge. At least until a week or a week and a half after, you know, the raid came out, that Atheon, if 3 players actually stood at the back of the map and the other 3 players stood forward of those 3 players, that Atheon would teleport the 3 players that were always the furthest away from him. Okay? We didn't know that, and we didn't know that here. I think our initial time going through Atheon, it took us about 3 hours to figure out what the heck, or no, sorry, 2 hours. It took us 2 hours from start to finish with Atheon's encounter. Just, you know, we had to wipe a number of times. I was trying to figure out, okay, what's the best strategy for defeating him. And at the time, it appeared that Atheon was randomly teleporting 3 players. So we came up with, okay, you know, who's going to be the main players that are going to grab the shield? And it was myself and Hyper and Y-Strikes that would be the ones that would always grab the shield. So the other guys would never grab it. And, you know, if there was a slim possibility that the other 3 players, like the 3 of us, didn't get teleported, then we need a 4th, okay? So we need a 4th player, or 4 players that kind of know what they're doing with the shield, and then it's up to the other players to figure out, okay, how are we going to defend the portals on the other side when everybody gets teleported? Okay, what's the best method for defending the portals? And the strategy that we had going was that we'd always have 2 players on the side that the players get teleported to. So if the 3 players get teleported to the light side, then we're over on the right-hand side. I'm on the dark-hand side, so if they got teleported to the dark side, then we'd have 2 players on the dark side defending against the Harpies and making sure the Harpies were cleared out so that the players who grabbed the shield could come back through the portal and be safe and be able to go and take out Atheon as needed. Okay? And that was the way it was for everybody. Nobody knew at the time that they always teleported the last 3 players. Alright? So they're going back to that. And, you know, like they say, it's supposedly a bug. So it's a bug that it is teleporting the 3 players that are furthest from them. And it sounds like a bug. It doesn't sound like that would have been an appropriate strategy. Yeah, I don't know why. It's dark. It's dark in here. I tell you. I need to be cleansed, I think. Or marked. So, yeah. And they're going back to that. And it's, yes, it's going to make it more difficult on hard difficulty, of course, because we had it down we had it down that we could easily beat Atheon with our strategy, with having our 3 set players at the back. It's going to make it more difficult, but that was how it was at the beginning, and you know, that's how it really should be, outside of the bug that, you know, that it is today. Now, the only thing I would say, though, is that I really hope they're looking at fixing the things that really crap out in the Atheon encounter. And there are a number of things, and some of these actually impact in the rest of the vault. But, and somebody actually on that thread had mentioned these things, and it happens to us all the time, right? The Praetorian's not taking damage when hit with a shield, and that happens usually when you're doing a regular melee attack. If you're doing a jump heavy attack on a Praetorian, it's actually not too bad. But they don't take damage sometimes when they're hit with a shield. It's like you hit them and it's just you're hitting a wall. You know, this guy's saying, Goran Daryl here. I've seen good shield users get crushed by a single Praetorian who not only ignored repeated attacks, but healed in the middle of said attacks, right? And I've seen these guys heal. You know, they're instantly back to full health when they were down to, you know, 10% or 50% or whatever, right? Group members not getting teleported. We've seen this. You know, it's not entirely frequent, but it has happened on more than one occasion. Group members not getting teleported. More than once in the final fight, I've seen an odd number of players get teleported. This range is anywhere from 1 to 4 members being sent into the portal when Atheon opens a time stream. And you can imagine, I mean, when 3 players is bad enough, but if you get only 2 players over there, we actually had it, I think on our last run, where one of the players actually had to wait for the portal to reopen, and then he came in through the portal to help us. Walking through the portals, we've had all kinds of instances where, you know, if you're running through the portals or if all 3 are going through at the same time, sometimes people aren't getting teleported. They end up back in this area that we're looking at here, right? And that's happened several times. So our strategy is to, you know, go single file and always stop and walk through the portal. But come on, let's fix that kind of thing. You know, we're fixing things that people have developed as part of a strategy to defeat Atheon, and sure, some of them might be bugs, but there are bugs that exist that just ruin things, you know, when we're trying to defeat Atheon that should be fixed as well. So I'm not sure why these are not getting addressed. But again, I think it goes to, you know, the people that are most vocal about things usually are the ones that get heard, and that's what they usually go and fix. Okay? Splash damage. The Relic, yeah, the Relic has that nifty feature of being able to create a shield to cleanse nearby allies and block attacks. Splash damage, however, seems to randomly change its mind on whether it pierces the shield or not. And we have seen that as well on our most recent strategy videos, where we jump into the middle with a shield and we run with two Warlocks. And that's why we run with 2 Warlocks, is because we've seen instances where these guys are getting killed. Like, it's actually never happened to me where I'd taken the splash damage, the one with the shield, but the 2 guys that were in there with me firing at Atheon have died in the past, and have died on multiple occasions, and self-resurrected, again, because we specifically asked them, okay, Warlocks are with me. Now that's going to have to change. So now that it's going to be random, they need to fix that shit, because it's going to be random now, so I can't take my 2 Warlocks in with me. It's going to be somebody, maybe I'm the one getting teleported with Hyper, he's a Titan, and we get another Titan or another Hunter, and then we take splash damage while we're high, you know, we're within the barrier, the shield barrier, and we're dying. They need to fix that shit. You know, you want to make it random, well, fix the crap that is going to just make it a headache and a nightmare for people trying to complete it, just because you're trying to fix one bug, but you're leaving the rest of these other bugs in the game. All right, so that's where I'm at with it. I got no problem with it, with them making the change and fixing this bug, but they got to fix this other crap. They got to fix this other crap with it, because it's just going to piss people off, and it already is. And you can see a lot of the comments on the thread. It already is pissing a lot of people off. And I'm going to be, I'm going to be that way, especially we're jumping into the middle on hard difficulty, and people are taking splash damage in the shield, and because we can't set which players go over, they're not Warlocks, and they're dead, and then they're useless from then on to finish the encounter. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they fix some of this other stuff, but it doesn't look like it's being taken care of, at least at this point. Okay, so the other important part of the update was they're going to revert some changes to the Mythoclast in PvE. Not PvP, just PvE. And you know, there's a lot of fluff in this this update. They talk about how we want, you know, matchmaking and gun balancing to work in PvP, and I can understand that. You know, you don't want a weapon dominating PvP like the Mythoclast was. Okay, this is some footage of Hyper playing one of the daily heroics the other day with the Mythoclast. Okay, so I mean, it's not that bad. It doesn't look to be still that bad in PV, but I know it was nerfed, and it was nerfed to a degree that it really, you know, I guess it's on scale with some of the other weapons. You know, it's kind of average, I guess, maybe. That's I don't have it, so I can only go off of what other people are saying. And you know, the thing that I asked on Twitter when they nerfed the Mythoclast in the first place was, I don't understand how a weapon gets into PvP that a week and a half or 2 weeks after that it's discovered that it's OP, that it's got to be, you know, patched to reduce base damage by 34%. And some people are actually saying it was reduced by more, but whatever scale you're using to make your comparison, or whatever, you know how you're looking at it, that's a significant decrease in base damage. How does a gun like that make it into PvP? Someone's not doing their job, in my opinion. Okay, someone's not doing their job in weapon balancing before these guns are making it into the game, to require a 34% base damage decrease in PvP, okay? And that damage, you know, whatever they did to the Mythoclast, covered PvP and PvE. But the problem is the Mythoclast is the most difficult gun to get. It's a reward for completing the Vault of Glass on hard difficulty. You don't get it unless you're done with Atheon. You've beaten him in hard difficulty. You don't get it in normal difficulty. It is, you know, you can get other exotics randomly. You can buy them off of Xur. Very, very easy to get, even though you might not have all of them, or there's one that you're specifically looking at that you haven't gotten. It's a random thing. This thing you actually have to work for. You gotta beat the raid, right? And that's your reward. So, I mean, it should be better than most of the other guns. It should be better than all the other guns. There's no question about it. So they talked about, right, Mythoclast and Rage-Forged exotics have 3 experience goals which drive their creation. Mythoclast is a trophy weapon from the most challenging PvE activity in the game. You braved our hardest challenges. We want to reward you with a weapon that outperforms the other primaries in your PvE arsenal. Alright? It should be a valid choice in PvP, but should not be the optimal choice. And I agree with that, okay? Mythoclast Power Tail is long enough for players to rely on in the next raid. For a player in the group of 6 who beat Atheon in hard, we'd like the Mythoclast to be a weapon they can continue to rely on in the next raid, Crota's End, okay? Now, what are they doing with the Mythoclast moving forward? They're adjusting the base damage on the Mythoclast. They're going to find a value that works for both PvP and PvE. In addition, they tend to raise the Mythoclast's attack value above and beyond the other exotics. Attack value dictates how much damage players deal to combatants, and Mythoclast attack value being raised will make it more effective in PvE. The timeline for this will be soon, quote-unquote. Supposedly they have a more substantive update and certification right now, and they can't do hot fixes as much as they'd like because until this update comes out. So it's going to be a little bit of time. They can do the update, and then they can hot fix some of the stuff, like with the VEX Mythoclast. So what is my take on this whole thing? Well, I think in a lot of cases that Bungie is really doing a knee-jerk reaction to issues here, all right? And it goes back to even the Queen's Wrath. The Queen's Wrath, we were getting Ascendant Shards like crazy because we're getting these bounties, we're getting these specific missions, and every mission dropped legendary armor. I was getting armor, you know, like crazy every single mission, and I would dismantle the armor and I would get shards. Well, their knee-jerk reaction was to just remove it all and basically make the Queen's Wrath missions. The bounties were great. The missions became completely useless. Became, you know, I didn't even play them anymore. I had like probably amongst my 3 characters, I had about 25 missions stacked up because I had completed bounties. I never completed the missions because there's no point. There's no reward. It was like you get the armor, you dismantle it, you get some sapphire. You know, sapphire material and a little bit of glimmer, I think. And that was it. So the knee-jerk reaction, yeah, people were farming it for shards, and I was doing the same thing. Knee-jerk, remove it all, completely remove everything, and making them completely pointless. Well, I don't think that was the solution. The VEX Mythoclast was the same thing, in my opinion. Again, people aren't doing their job to put a gun in the game in PvP that requires a 34% reduction in damage 2 weeks later. do your job. Don't put the gun in there. Bounce the gun before it gets into the game. Somebody should have known. And I don't think it's that hard to analyze the damage output of a gun in PvP before you put it into the game. Okay, and then knee-jerk reaction. People were complaining. Yes, I think it needed. I think it needed a nerf in PvP. But knee-jerk reaction was, okay, reduce the damage by well over a third or over a third in PvP and PvE, making the weapon on par with pretty much any other weapon that you get randomly in the game. Any other legendary, any other exotic. And it completely wrecked the reward system. Why am I running the raid on hard difficulty to try to get a VEX Mythoclast when, you know, it's subpar. It's on par with any other legendary or exotic I can get randomly in the game or buy from Xur. Doesn't make any sense. The only reason I'm running the vault right now on hard difficulty is to get more ascendant material, ascendant energy, in order to do more weapon upgrades, because I want to get all the exotics and all the raid gear, etc., the raid weapons upgraded, fully upgraded. So I need ascendant energy. So that's the only reason I'm running it. I mean, I don't have the Mythoclast. I want to get it, but you know, that whole the incentive to go in there and play it on hard difficulty is gone for everybody until they fix this, because it's crap. So anyways, I don't know. That's my thought. Or my thoughts. What are your thoughts on this whole situation? Let us know in the video comments, and we'll see. Hopefully we get more thoughtful responses to issues in the game, and let's fix some of that stuff in the raid that's really just gonna, you know, you want to make it random, that's great, but fix all this other crap that's going on with the raid. Because making it random is just going to cause those issues to come more so to the forefront, in my opinion. That's my spiel, guys. So yeah, we'll see you next time. I'm Spider and I'm out.